Hi, my name is Jonathan Hopp, and up until 6 years ago, I was a teacher. I taught kindergarten, high school, you name it, but 6 years ago, I decided to switch careers and become an engineer. Now I'm a senior software engineer at a company, and I've taught multiple boot camps and helped dozens of people realize their dream of becoming a developer. Maybe you're thinking about the same thing. Maybe you'd like to make a career switch and try something new. Maybe for a better future, maybe for better hours, remote work. There are a lot of benefits to becoming a developer. Here are my top 10 tips for anyone who's on the road to becoming a developer, and things are tips that I've sort of developed over the years, watching people and helping them grow into developers, and these are tips that can help you on your journey. Number 10, pick a language and stick with it. There are tons of languages you could learn and focus on, and it can be confusing to pick one. Plus, there's a lot of conflicting information out there. Here's the deal. As a beginner, my recommendation is to start with Python, JavaScript, or C#. These languages do not require a lot of setup, and you can get all the programs you need to develop in them for free. There are tons of materials online about programming in any of them. And the biggest plus, the job market for Python, JavaScript, and C# is really good. You'll be able to do things like machine learning, web development, mobile development. The sky's the limit. Number 9, if you're not technical, spend more time on the computer. If you're not used to working with computers for an extended period of time, that's going to be a problem. I noticed that the bootcamp students who struggled the hardest were the ones that were not comfortable with their computer. They only ever used it for emailing, Word and Excel, looking at puppy photos, the normal stuff. But they never actually spent a good chunk of their day actually on their computer using it. If you fall into that category, that's fine. Most normal people don't spend all day on their computer. But you might need to practice typing, searching through folders, getting comfortable with Windows, and just being generally more comfortable in using your computer, because as a developer, you're going to be spending a lot more time on it. Number 8, don't be afraid of the command prompt. For most developers, the command prompt is a scary, inky void of nothingness, but it's how you used your computer back in the day. The command prompt is used for dozens of different things, including Git, which you're definitely going to be using on your job. The students in bootcamp who avoided using the command prompt and used the GUI whenever possible had the hardest time. Some things you have to do through the command prompt. Number 7, set aside time for uninterrupted study. Do not underestimate how much time you'll need to study. You need to spend time practicing your coding, you'll need to spend time reading about new concepts, and you also need time to work on projects. This adds up pretty quickly, especially if you have kids in a life. You're going to have to put aside some serious time every week to devote to coding. And part of this process is going to be patience. You're going to need some patience with yourself, because it will take some time before you really can see the payoff of all your hard work. And a lot of times you'll be reading things and you won't understand them, and it'll sound like an alien language. But a few weeks later or even a month later, you'll be applying those skills effortlessly. It is a marathon, not a sprint. Number 6, do projects. Small projects are best. Small projects are an awesome way to learn. In fact, it's how I learned how to code. I can't emphasize enough how absolutely vital it is that you work on little small projects. For a lot of people, when they learn coding, they learn techniques and they learn syntax, but they don't really understand how all of it comes together into an actual real world project. And when you do a project, it helps you to sort of see all the nuts and bolts and put them together, so that you have some context for what you're learning. The other big reason I recommend working on projects is because it gives you something to look back on that you can say, hey, I really improved. I worked on this project 6 months ago. At the time it was really hard, but now I could do this pretty simply. This is a long road, and you're learning a new skill and you're doing lots of new things. So you need to give yourself encouragement. And a great way to give yourself encouragement is to have some evidence of your improvement. Number 5, practice certain code without using the IDE. Try doing small coding exercises without the use of the IDE, like Visual Studio Code. One of the things some people have problems with is syntax. They become dependent on the IDE to do all the syntax for them. The problem is, if you do that, you don't really understand what you're typing. It's like you're putting down magic symbols that have magic powers instead of understanding what each part does. One way to practice this is to open up Notepad and start to code using just that. It's the way people programmed back in the day. This way, the IDE isn't the crutch, and you can see how much of the syntax you really understand. Number 4, prepare to be frustrated. Learning any new skill is going to be frustrating. Coding is especially hard to learn for people who don't have a technical background, so if you're becoming a developer, this could be a bigger hurdle. The whole process can be frustrating. The computer doesn't do what you think it's supposed to do, you don't know why you're getting an error, you read these articles online but you don't really understand them. The whole thing can be very, very daunting for new people. It even can bring some people to quit and just give up on the idea. My advice, don't. It gets better. It takes at least 6 months before you start to feel really comfortable with coding, with feeling like you can actually produce good code that does what you want to do. But you're going to make mistakes for the rest of your coding career, and you're always going to be in a state where you're being asked to do something that's going to stretch you out a bit and ask you to learn new things. The best thing you can do mentally is accept it. Number 3, practice using Google to find answers to your questions. Google is going to be your best friend. As a junior developer, one thing you have to realize, your problems are not novel. The answer to them lies somewhere on the internet, and you need to be good at going on Google, going on Stack Overflow, going through Medium articles, and finding the solution to your problem quickly. You're going to be given new tasks, and you're going to be asked to do things that you've never done before on your job. And even as a senior developer, I get stuff that's brand new to me. You have to be able to roll with it, and so you have to be able to go on the internet and quickly and efficiently find what you're looking for and be able to apply it to your situation. One of the biggest mental hurdles for some of my bootcamp students was to understand that they weren't actually cheating. Programmers look at other programmers' code all the time. It's a completely natural thing to do. Number 2, do not shy away from Git. Learn it immediately. The importance of Git and GitHub cannot be overstated. You really need to learn the basic commands like git push, git pull, git init, all of those, because pretty much every company uses Git for source control. Source control is keeping track of code. People make changes to code, they add things, they remove things, they work in groups. Git is pretty much the de facto standard for being able to do those sorts of things, and companies nowadays are going to require you to have basic Git knowledge. So I would start on that immediately, and just because it has the dreaded command prompt, you still need to learn how to use it and be versed with it. Number 1, be clear why you're doing this. The number 1 tip and the biggest piece of advice I can give to anyone who is on the road to becoming a developer is know why you're doing it. This might sound really simple, but a lot of times people get dollar bills in their eyes, they see the big splashy headlines with the 6-figure salaries, and then they get into a boot camp or they start studying and they realize how hard it is and they quit. Well, the reason that happens is because they don't have an inner story as to why it is they want to become a developer that's something beyond the superficial. So if you want to become a developer, that's great, but why are you doing it? Are you doing it because you like to work from home? You'd like to travel the world with your laptop? You'd like to have more flexible time, spend time with your family, have a higher salary? What is the thing that you want to do once you become a developer? Because once you answer that question, once you have a story in your head as to why you're making this personal transformation, you'll be able to draw on that power from that story when things get tough. And believe me, I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. Things are going to get tough. It is not easy. A lot of people quit. But if you can tell yourself a story, some reason, some guiding principle as to why you want to become a developer, you will succeed. If you enjoyed this video and like to see more videos on coding and the journey to becoming a developer, please like and subscribe.